gives me that
Serious.
energy. Like he
Yeah.
wants a show.
Sicko. All these.
Yeah.
I think if we don't see any other like common thread in all this is like the ego of these people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a lot of
Narcissistic.
ego.
A lot of
Behavior.
ego.
Well, I'll be interested. You got me all like pulled into that. I was already pulled in just because of the Netflix, but that'll be interesting to see. You said that's April 8th where that trial is?
Yeah. Yeah. It's going.
Don't. Sarah's reading our comments coming in, and we have some weird ones. Don't read that. All right, so let's move on to Murdaugh real quick.
Yeah.
What do we have new? First of all, we have our Carolina Justice Report, which is being released today. We wanted to hop on and do this discussion at 2:00, but as soon as this is over,
It'll drop.
Our Carolina Justice Report will drop, which is all about the aftermath of the trial and the appeal and all the updates when that goes. But there's a couple things that we did not talk about because they weren't available
Just came
yet.
out,
Just
right?
came
The last
out.
couple days.
So what new info do you have for us?
Well, Russelllafitte's attorneys have asked for a second time for a new trial. And they cited Alex's testimony at his trial that no one had anything to do with it but him, the stealing of the money. He did it all alone. I don't think that's going to fly because it wasn't just the word of Alex Murdaugh that took Russelllafitte down. It was the evidence.
All of the other evidence and witnesses.
Yeah. All the evidence and witnesses
Yeah.
of what he did, not what Alex did. So I don't think that that's going to go anywhere,
Yeah,
which I still think is crazy. Like the federal system, like always like amazes me because you have a sentencing date that's later than in a report date. So in state court, at least here in South Carolina, it's like do not pass, go straight to jail. But they're letting him stay out on bond. So he gave an interview, this crazy interview that's on YouTube. If anybody gets a chance, watch it. It's really weird, where he tries to downplay his entire part of it. But he seems to forget the testimony of the sisters who were begging for school supplies as he went on a private jet with the money. Like, you know what I mean? God sucks.
Yeah.
it's
That
really sad.
evidence was pretty overwhelming.
Mm-hmm.
So, and Alec did not testify at Russelllafitte's trial. So like he was convicted regardless.
Solely
of any of
on
that.
everything else.
Yeah.
Well, and what were you saying about Stephen Smith as well?
You want to take Stephen Smith?
Yeah. They've exhumed his body.
Or they're
Or
wanting
going
to
exhume his
they're
body.
asking
Yeah.
for
Which
his
is
body to be exhumed.
crazy. Long overdue, in my opinion. But then also Buster gave a statement, which Buster has this whole time has not made any statements at all.
No.
Made a statement that he had nothing to do with it.
And that, you know, it's all rumor and he had nothing to do with it. And he'd appreciate, like he has lost he said, I lost my brother, my mother, and now my father has been incarcerated for their murder. Can I just grieve the loss of my family?
That's interesting because we really haven't heard much from Buster, period.
Mm-hmm. No, he hasn't ever spoken before, has he?
No.
Besides his testimony, but
Remind folks who Stephen Smith is.
So Stephen Smith is a young man who went to high school with Buster. He was in nursing school, super smart. He was gay, and he was found dead in the middle of the road. In what was it, July of 20? I wrote it down.
I thought it was 2015.
2015. Yep.
And without going, because I know that we have other podcasts on Stephen Smith. He was found dead in the road. Highway Patrol came out as if it was he was hit by a car, and Highway Patrol said this guy wasn't hit by a car. He looks like a homicide.
They actually didn't they originally think that it was a gunshot wound to the head?
Yeah,
because it was such a trauma.
Because it was such a trauma to his head. But then
he still had his shoes on.
Still had his shoes on. Phone was still in his pocket. It was just like, this is not someone who was hit by a car. And they tried to get the police involved because the Highway Patrol has no resources or business investigating a homicide. Right? That's not what they're equipped to do. Tried to get the police involved to investigate it as a homicide and wouldn't. The police wouldn't.
SLED, everybody said not it.
Everybody said no. It's you know, you need to do it. So they did their best. I think the highway patrolman.
I was so impressed with the South Carolina Highway Patrol that I can't remember his name, that took this case. Matter of fact, I always said
I interviewed witnesses and all that stuff.
He genuinely cared about finding out what happened to Stephen Smith. It feels like he's the only one besides his family that really cared about trying to figure it out.
Yeah, he investigated it as best as he could.
Yeah.
As a homicide, interviewing witnesses, doing all those things that you don't really get highway patrol doing often because it's mostly involving vehicles. So
Yeah.
if they're tracking people down, it's to find the vehicle and get a statement, but not like a whole murder.
But he wasn't
investigation.
able to find any
No,
conclusion.
no.
But he also doesn't have the resources to
Right.
process that kind of evidence.
Yeah. Yeah.
So he was limited,
Very
in my
limited.
opinion. And so then they
because
bury
almost
Stephen
all of the
Smith.
interviews that he did were over the phone because
Yeah.
people would not meet with him.
Mm.
But what we hear a lot of in those interviews, because they've been released, is, I heard Buster Murdoch had something to do with it.
Yeah, there's like multiple times when they bring in the Murdochs, specifically Buster. And Buster has claimed since then that he had nothing to, like, he didn't even know Stephen Smith beyond going to school with them. Like, they
So-
weren't friends or anything like that.
And Stephen Smith's investigator, Steve Peterson,
I think so.
I know his name. I don't know why I'm like questioning this. That's his name, Stephen Peterson. Sorry, Steve. SLED told him that Buster was not even in the county, but they will not share any information of how they know that. Which, I think if we haven't learned anything else out of the whole Murdoch situation and the trial is that I don't know if we really believe everything SLED has to say.
Yeah, alibis are not solid.
Alibis are definitely not solid. And,
Mm.
if you have evidence that Buster was not there, then let's hear it.
where
Let's
was
put
he?
that to bed. Make us all feel better. And Lord, and if he wasn't, then everybody needs to back off because his mom and brother were brutally murdered by his father. Like, if we can't give him like a pass, then let's,
clear him and
let's clear him and leave him
If it wasn't
alone.
him, we still need to find out what happened to Stephen
No,
Smith.
absolutely.
And
And his little mom, it just breaks my heart for her because
Yeah.
she's desperate to know what happened to
Yeah.
her baby.
Mm. Yeah.
And she deserves that. Oh,
Did
Eric
we-
Bland. You want to talk about that?
Yeah, go ahead.
Eric Bland has taken over Stephen Smith's case to help his mom try to figure out what's going on.
And who's Eric Bland?
Eric Bland is the attorney for, he's an attorney. He and his partner are attorneys down in Charleston. And he's the attorney, he is the attorney for the Glory Satterfield.
Well, that's what I was
kids.
going to ask. Do we know anything about when they exhumed her body?
Did they exhume her body?
I thought they were doing it.
I thought they were.
Yeah, but we haven't heard anything
we
about
haven't heard
it.
anything else
Mm-mm.
about it.
Eric gave a press conference and a bunch of interviews talking about how he was going to petition the court essentially to take over the investigation, which, I mean, that's
It's
insane. Like, what precedent do you have that you can take over in an open investigation? Because SLED has reopened that case
Yeah.
because something was found at the Murdochs that made them reopen it.
Mm.
And we don't know what that is. But I just question what kind of authority Eric Bland would have to exhume bodies and take over an
And
investigation.
investigate as a lawyer.
Yeah. If that's the case and he can get this, then I have never been so excited in my whole life because so often we represent victims of cases where we just don't know and police won't share anything, which means.
Isn't he also making himself a witness?
Yeah.
He's also the investigator.
Yeah.
That seems problematic.
Yeah.
I think he should
conflict.
leave it to, I think it's finally Stephen Smith might get the testing. I'm not hopeful. It's always better to do it right when it happens.
Yeah.
That's what it's all there.
Because my thing is like, what are we going to learn
I don't know what we're going to learn this far after.
8 years after the case, except that he had a blunt force trauma to the head? I'm not sure, because when you do an autopsy, you do fingernail scrapings, you're doing all those other things.
Oh, that's gone.
Well, it would have all been kept in evidence,
Right.
but one would hope. I mean,
Highway Patrol didn't do any of that though. did
That's
they?
what I'm saying.
no, but there was an autopsy.
Okay.
So during the autopsy, that stuff would have been it would have hopefully been preserved. But I would think that if they had all that, then they would be testing it and stuff like that. You know what I mean? I don't know
Yeah.
how much evidence could be left on an exhumed body 8 years later than what we have. I hope something. I hope it
Yeah.
gives some kind of clarity, and
Absolutely.
because everybody deserves that. And Stephen Smith deserves some kind of justice, and his parents or his mom, because his dad died, and his sister deserve to know what happened to Stephen.
Yeah. And then what's new with Greg?
So Greg Alexander is the chief of police of Yemassee. And we learned through the Murdoch trial that he was very close with Alex. And John Marvin Murdoch's testimony was that he came to the scene that night, and it was a really weird. Did you think that testimony was really weird for John
It was
Marvin?
weird. The relationship was weird.
Just the whole thing's
the
weird.
whole trial was weird.
Yeah.
But that was
You guys
that
saw
was
it.
weird.
You were there. I thought it was really weird, just like how he said it happened. Like he got into his car. He was in his old farm truck, John Marvin, and he's on his way to Moselle because he lived like 2 hours away, I guess, hour and a half. And his truck is sputtering and breaking down kind of because it's an old work truck. And he calls Greg Alexander, and he's on his way, and he gets in behind him and is following him. And then they pull over and ditch that truck, and then he hops in the car with him so they can get to Moselle. I just thought it was really weird.
It is weird.
And we also learned, through all this, that Alex wrote a check after the murders for $5,000 to Greg Alexander, which is weird. And then what's really also weird is that allegedly Greg Alexander is the father of Stephen Smith's twin sister's baby.
So Greg,
Jeez.
Damn, Colleton and Hampton County is like the smallest, like that.
the smallest ever.
All the webs we weave or whatever. What is
Yeah.
it?
That's
Crazy.
Tangle web we weave.
Yes,
yeah.
that's it. That's
Yeah,
what he
very
said. That's
tangled.
the word. Oh. Allegedly.
So do we don't know
Allegedly.
what he is under investigation for? He's just
No, we just know that the grand jury has been,
talking about him.
yep. And he's
Interesting.
under investigation with the
Well, we kind of knew that
Country.
this Murdoch stuff was going to
open Pandora's
reach
box.
out to about a bunch of other people.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe it's
And will those all go through Judge Newman?
I assume.
Yeah.
I mean, he would like to retire eventually.
yeah.
Poor man. He's putting his
I don't
time.
know.
He's
Yeah,
close.
I think that he did his duty.
Yeah.
He almost made it seem like anything that was related to the Murdoch he'd be covering. So I don't know. That's what made me think to ask, because it just seems like he'll be the one to do all these.
That would be Supreme Court's
Decision, I guess.
decision.
Yeah.
But we don't want any Idaho stuff going on. So let's just keep him on all of it.
Yeah.
Make sure-
We're safe with Judge
Make
Newman.
sure, yeah, everything keeps going smooth.
Yeah. Gosh, well, that's a lot of new stuff.
It's wild.
Whew. So
Just when
okay,
we thought we were done, Rainey.
I know. So when they exhume a body, I mean, this may not be a question that or an answer that you know, but do we have to wait until a trial happens to get that information, or will they come out with new findings?
Okay, not to sound like a total lawyer, but it
It
depends.
depends.
The lawyer answer to everything. It just depends. If SLED gives us the information that we seek, or because I just don't foresee Eric Bland exhuming a body. I mean, maybe. I don't know.
It's going to
for
be
an-
SLED.
It'll be SLED, one would
If
think.
Judge Newman's in charge. I think it's going to be SLED.
Yeah, one would hope. Because if it were not an active investigation, then I would say that you would have the authority to do that kind of stuff. But because it's an active investigation and SLED has reopened it and it's active,
Yeah.
I just don't foresee.
That's evidence. You know,
Yeah.
you can't just go and tamper with evidence
Mm.
if you're not an investigator. If it just Stephen Smith's mom wanted
I
to
never
do
thought
it,
I would ever even have to like think through this scenario. This is like a bar exam.
I just
criminal
don't. I
question.
just
It don't make
would
any
like to see,
sense.
like, is it a motion? Like, what is he filing to get this? Has he
And
filed
like
it
I said,
already?
what precedent do you have to ask for
Yeah,
it?
where's the support that you have for that kind of? And why
What's
would
your
you want
standing?
to? Why would you want to investigate your own case? That's causing a lot of problems for you.
I think
And what is
he
the
needs
case?
just to
There's
hold them
not-
accountable is what he needs to do.
Yeah, he just needs to stay on top of them.
Yeah. Shame them into doing the right thing and investigating Stephen Smith's,
Mm.
Death correctly and thoroughly. One of the things that came out in the last couple months, and we talk about this a little bit, just that it was really weird that Randy Murdoch was at the scene of the accident before anybody, like right after the police get there.
Mm.
And he called Stephen Smith's father and offered to take the case for free, which was weird.
Which is very weird.
Very.
Because how would he, if like Buster and everyone has been maintaining that they didn't have a relationship with Stephen Smith beyond knowing him
School.
at school, why would Randy show up there?
Yeah.
So there's a bunch of weird links.
Lots of questions.
And we all know that the Murdochs don't do anything for free. like take it
Yeah.
pro bono the night it
Mhm.
happened. You know, a part of it, a part of me, because we learned that the Murdochs kind of, especially Alex, owned, and that law firm kind of like owned that county.
Right.
And it wouldn't surprise me if they showed up at every,
They
which
had
is
like
totally
a police
unethical, but
scanner and just showed up at every
yeah, or they got a
accident.
call, hey, we got an accident here, and it's a
Yeah.
death case, so we know it would be worth a lot of money or whatever.
Or the
Yeah.
the police just call them and tell them everything that happened.
Yeah, I mean, if they're
Who do
changing
you want at fault?
police reports,
Yeah.
right, to show that somebody else is at fault, it's definitely a possibility.
But to offer to do it for free is where it's
That's where it gets
way
dicey
sketchy.
and
Yeah.
sketch. Yeah,
I agree.
Mm. Man.
because we do stuff for
GG.
free all the time, and Justin kills us sometimes.
Justin, are you watching?
So like they're not a firm that does that kind of stuff. So
Right.
their pro
Yeah.
bono work is
I
not.
mean, they're at your expense.
yeah,
You're in the negative when you go there.
for sure.
Well, folks, of course, we're going to keep you updated on all of this. And again, be sure to watch the Carolina Justice Report that's going to be dropping right after this. Any final thoughts, ladies?
Nope.
Another
saga
trial.
continues.
Lots of stuff.
I know. I'm excited for all the new stuff to come up.
Yeah.
It's gonna be good. It's gonna be interesting.
We, of course, will keep you updated. Thank you guys so much for watching. Send us all your questions, all your questions and comments.
All the questions. And if there's any trials that you want to see covered, just let us know, because there's nothing that gets me all excited more than a good trial. Also,
Well-
free Eddie Smith.
Free.
Well,
Free.
and also, you know, topics, cases that you want us to discuss too,
Yeah,
or they
yeah, for
want
sure.
to get y'all's feedback on. So we will definitely do that. All right, you guys. Well, thank you so much for watching and sticking with us today. We appreciate you. You can visit us online at justiceslovely.com. Also, we're on all your social media channels, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Twitter, and we would love to get your feedback. Thanks so much for watching today. We'll see you next time.
When life gets ugly.